Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm on the pitcher's mound tonight. My name is Dan Cummings, and I would like to warmly welcome each and every one of you to the 37th Annual House of Providence Award, presented by who else? J.W. Burns and Company Investment Counsel. Very happy to be back once again as your MC for this special event tonight. And hello, everybody behind the blue light watching by live stream tonight. And we know there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of you doing so. You can't be with us here in person, that's okay. We're so glad that you could come to tune in and be with us virtually to celebrate this year's honorees along with their family and their friends. There are many of them, colleagues who have come to celebrate their accomplishments, their contributions to our community, and to help celebrate the great work that Catholic Charities does in our community all the time. You're well aware that last year we did return to an in-person event after taking a year off because of COVID-19 in 2020, and slowly but hopefully, surely, we have been emerging from these health and social crises that have surrounded us, impacting communities not only here but worldwide. And we can be together again this evening in person and out there in Cyberland for this very special occasion. And without further ado, I want to mention to you the three people who you've seen in your programs, and you know you're here because they're here to be honored. I've already seen the Ann Rooney fan club turn out in great numbers tonight. But you know what? All three of these honorees have got fan clubs, if you will, that stretch back decades and that cover an entire community because of who they are and what they've done to serve this community in so many ways. And it's really an honor to be among them tonight. You're going to hear more from them and more about them later, but for the moment, let me tell you who they are and give them each their own special round of applause. First of all, Deputy Onondaga County Executive for Human Services, Ann Rooney, is being awarded tonight. Ann, congratulations. Recently retired, doesn't it feel good to be recently retired? Yeah. Syracuse City School District Superintendent Jaime Alicea. Jaime, congratulations. And I don't think he'll ever retire, and God hope he doesn't have to or want to. A pillar in our faith, a pillar in the Roman Catholic Church, and a pillar for Catholic Charities for longer than I can remember. I think longer than I've been on earth. Ladies and gentlemen, Monsignor Charles Fahey, right over here. You know, Tejan and Lindsay will probably slap me down for this later, but I always was told in all the years I was not retired and doing some MC work that MCs should always have like a little joke, a little bit of humor, a little bit of levity, and I never did because I'm never like that. I'm not really a funny guy. But this afternoon, true story. Don't comedians always say true story? It is a true story. I was going to a dental appointment. I had to have some dental work done. And I was leaving the house at early afternoon, and my son asked me, "Dad, what time's the appointment?" And I said, 2:30, I'm on my way. He started breaking. I said, "You got a dental appointment at 2:30? 2:30? Yeah, and he couldn't let it. He's rolling on the floor. A dental appointment, you get it, Monsignor? 2:30, yeah, 2:30. The only thing better, Jaime, is having a dental appointment at 2:30 with Dr. Payne. But that I didn't have that today. All is well. True story. That's my only joke. And now you all know, including Tejana, why I don't generally tell jokes. That's a good example of it. I'd like to give a special round of applause. Well, you can applaud. I'll tell you who to applaud. Several people here tonight, and they're going to stand up in a group if they can, if they would. The first group, the Board of Directors of Catholic Charities. On your feet, please, to get a round of applause. Thank you, one and all, for your service to Catholic Charities. Any former and emeriti board directors of Catholic Charities, you can now stand if you've ever served on the board. Thank you. I know there's at least a few of them here, past recipients of a House of Providence Award. You can get on your feet now and take a round of applause from all of us. And all of you who've tuned in virtually tonight, you can applaud yourself in your seats at home by the fireplace. Now, please, you'll hear a little bit more about this much later on. Not too much later, because our off time is roughly 8 o'clock by about the fifth inning of that Yankee game, I guess. But you're going to hear from me now that for really, and this is a landmark moment, that Patty Callahan and Joe Charles via video are going to come up. They are the co-chairs, and they've been the co-chairs for more than a few years of your House of Providence Awards Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe's going to join us in a moment, but here we go with the spoiler alert. For the last time ever in this role, at this microphone, at this point in time, Patty Callahan. Come on up, Patty.
Oh my gosh, thanks, Dan. Last time ever. Okay, good evening. It's so good to be with you all tonight, and isn't it wonderful to be together like this? On behalf of Catholic Charities House of Providence Awards Committee members who've met regularly over the last several months to help select the award recipients, secure sponsors, and help plan the event, Joe and I welcome you to the 37th Annual House of Providence Awards. I would also like to acknowledge some special guests we have with us this evening. A warm welcome to Bishop Douglas J. Lucia. Thank you for joining us, Bishop. We are happy you could be with us tonight. Welcome also to Onondaga County Executive J. Ryan McMahon and City of Syracuse Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens. Thank you both. We welcome your support of this event. We are grateful to have several state elected officials here tonight: New York State Senator John Mannion, New York State Assemblywoman Pamela Hunter, New York State Assemblyman Al Sturpey, and New York State Assemblyman Bill Magnarelli. Welcome to all of you guys. And special thanks to signature and major sponsors as follows. This year's sponsors are Christopher Community Inc. and JMA Wireless. Many thanks to our media sponsor, Cumulus Media Group. This year's Hope sponsors are Loretto, Murphy and Nolan and the Murphy family, NBT Bank and National Grid. And finally, a big thanks to BPAS, the Bonadio Group, Holmes King Colquist and Associates, and Rich and Gardner Construction Company, St. Joe's Health, and Wegmans Food Markets, Inc. for being our opening prayer sponsors. Thank you all. This year's event is special for my co-chair, Joe Charles, and me. After a number of years of service in this role, we will be passing the baton as we step down as co-chairs. While Joe couldn't be here with us physically tonight, I'm sure he would agree that it has been a privilege to help bring the vision for this event to life each year. Without further ado, as we prepare to honor three noteworthy individuals tonight, let's hear from Joe.
Thank you, Patty, for the introduction and for all your support for Catholic Charities in our House of Providence Awards. You have been an incredible co-chairperson of the House of Providence Awards Committee. Your enthusiasm and positive attitude are key ingredients to the committee's teamwork and success. Good evening, all. It has been my privilege to have served on the annual House of Providence Awards Committee for the past 12 years, including 10 as co-chairperson. Due to an out-of-town commitment for the celebration of my wife Janice's milestone birthday that was established prior to the scheduling of this year's House of Providence Awards, I am unable to be in person with you to acknowledge and celebrate our three honorees who have contributed so much to making the lives of so many in our community better. Our honorees, although working to better everyone's life, are recognized for the groups of disadvantaged people they have focused on helping. Monsignor Fahey, in addition to being a leader of Catholic Charities of Onondaga County, was a major national and local force in addressing the needs of the elderly. Jaime Elisea spent a career bettering the lives of our City of Syracuse children through his leadership and hard work in the Syracuse School District. Ann Rooney has been a guiding force in directing aid to the most vulnerable members of Onondaga County. These are three very special people. While tonight is a night belonging to our honorees, I want to thank all who have contributed so much this year and over the years to make the annual House of Providence Awards a success. I won't go into details, as I am sure Patty Callahan will acknowledge and thank Mike Mallara and his entire Catholic Charities team, the annual House of Providence Awards Committee, and all of our sponsors, including Jim Burns and J.W. Burns and Company, our presenting sponsor since prior to when I joined the awards committee 12 years ago. I do want to thank all of you in attendance tonight or were unable to attend, but have supported the annual House of Providence Awards and Catholic Charities this year and in years past. All of us are motivated in our own way and are supportive of Catholic Charities. Most likely, we all have a desire to help the disadvantaged. My first connection with Catholic Charities mission unknowingly occurred when I was around 6 or 7 years old. My father told me a story about Monsignor Charles Brady, a key influencer of Catholic Charities, known for his dedication and advocacy for people in need in the Syracuse community. He said Monsignor was walking on the streets of Syracuse on a cold, snowy evening when he came upon a man shivering without a coat. Monsignor Brady took his coat off and gave it to the man to wear. He then brought him to get some food and a place to stay overnight. This image of Monsignor Brady giving his coat to warm and comfort this unknown man has remained with me throughout my life as a reminder there are people suffering and it is my responsibility to help the best way I can. This image is also my reminder of what Catholic Charities does every day in many ways, helping and comforting those in need. Once again, I want to congratulate our 3 honorees, Monsignor Fahey, Ian Rooney, and Jaime Elisea, on your special evening of recognition, and thank all of you for supporting Catholic Charities. Enjoy the evening.
You are the best, Joe, and happy birthday, Janice. All I know is that our master tracker list that we use for the committee, Joe's name is next to many of the sponsors involved through the years and many who are here tonight. He has a way about him, clearly inspired by Monsignor Brady, which has resulted in generous support for the House of Providence year after year. It has been a pleasure to serve next to him. As for me, I've cherished the time I've been involved with Catholic Charities, going back to the late 90s, and I plan, as I'm sure Joe does, to stay involved with the HOP committee and in other ways as well with this incredibly impactful institution. This past Sunday, the gospel touched my heart in relation to our shared work at Catholic Charities. The story of Lazarus and the rich man reminds me that those of us granted blessings and wealth during our lifetimes must be aware of the needs of those less fortunate and act to serve them. Indeed, this is the cornerstone of the work of Catholic Charities. It has been my privilege to serve an organization that positively impacts so many people in our shared community. Thank you, Catholic Charities, leadership, staff, and volunteers. And now I invite Jim Burns, whose company, J.W. Burns, has served as a presenting sponsor for this event for 14 years running, to come up to the podium to say a few words. Jim, we are all so grateful for your incredibly generous support through the years.
Good evening. I am very proud that my company has been a sponsor of the House of Providence event for well over a decade now. I believe in its mission and the outstanding leadership of Mike Malera and his team. Abraham Lincoln once said, "When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion." Well, I feel good when I give to Catholic Charities because they do an excellent job at feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and bringing the love of God to those in need in our community. A wise man was once asked, "Why do you only give to human services organizations? Why don't you give to your alma mater or the arts or where people will see your family name?" His reply was, "I want to focus my giving to alleviate suffering rather than spreading joy." I agree, but when I give to Catholic Charities of Onondaga County, I know that I am not only alleviating suffering, but I myself am getting a lot of joy. Thank you all for supporting this vital and integral organization that Catholic Charities is, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for those thoughtful words, Jim. Now back to you, Dan. Thank you for being an ardent supporter of Catholic Charities as well. For those who don't know, back in 2018, Dan was the recipient of the Bishop's Award himself. Dan? Where are you?
Patty, thank you. Yeah, she's right. And one of the proudest awards of my life. It actually looks a lot like that one over there, except it says Dan Cummings on it. And it's proudly on our mantle at home, and it's just awesome. So thank you. And Patty and Joe out there in cyberspace, thank you so much. I mean, the fact that two people have led the same committee for so many years and done this every year we come, and I think, well, Joe and Patty still chairing this committee, and indeed they have been until now. They're big shoes to fill when you guys step aside. And didn't Joe do a great job on the teleprompter? I think he did. He really did. Yeah. All right, let's open with a prayer, and to deliver it for us and invoke God's blessing, ladies and gentlemen, Bishop Douglas Lucia. Bishop.
Thank you and good evening. Let us pray. O loving God, with wisdom, love, and care, draw near to us this evening as we honor Ann Rooney, Jaime Alicia, and Monsignor Charles Fahey for their service to our community in making it a better place. We thank you for their dedication and attention to the needs of the residents of Onondaga County and beyond. Lord Jesus, open our eyes that we may see you in all our sisters and brothers. Open our minds that we may understand their hopes and dreams, their sorrows and pain, their longing for you. Open our hearts to give generously of ourselves. Grant us wisdom to respond effectively to the needs of your people with grace and compassion. And give us the courage to speak your words of life, peace, love, mercy, and human solidarity. O Holy Spirit, bless and strengthen all who have gathered in this place and those who join us from afar. Watch over the people whom Catholic Charities serves and encourage and fortify the staff and volunteers who reach out every day in faith, hope, and love. In a particular way, be with our sisters and brothers in Florida and in the southeastern U.S., and protect them from the harm and ravages of Hurricane Ian. Help us to be mindful of them not only now, but in the tough days of recovery ahead of them. This night and always, to you, O God Most High, be glory and praise forever. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop. The next order of business is the man who runs the business of Catholic Charities. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and pride to present to you the Executive Director of Catholic Charities, Mike Millara. Mike.
Well, hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Thanks, Dan, for that introduction. So good evening, and thank you for joining us here tonight. Whether you're joining us in person or through live stream, we're just very pleased to be with you again for the House of Providence Awards. I'd also like to extend my thanks to our great friend Jim Burns for all of his support over the past 14 years. You cannot ask for a better friend than Jim Burns. Thank you, Jim, for all that you do. Also want to thank the House of Providence Awards Committee, and I know we've mentioned Patty Callahan and Joe Charles, all they have done for us all these years. And again, I just want to extend my thanks for just making this event such a success all these years. So Joe is not with us, but Patty, thank you for all that you have done. The best smile in Central New York, by the way, is Patty Callahan. So thank you, Patty. I'd also like to take a moment to congratulate our honorees, Monsignor Charles Fahey, Jaime Alicia, and Ann Rooney, and thank them for their leadership and their willingness to work shoulder to shoulder with Catholic Charities and our shared commitment to serve our community. These three honorees have a significant impact on the work that we do every day at Catholic Charities. So I want to thank you and congratulate you. So 1 month ago to the day, I took my 22-year-old son, Dominic, and his two best friends, Garrett and Jackson, also in their 20s, to Gettysburg for a weekend visit to see the National Museum and the battlefields. And I will admit that it has been a very long time since I went on a road trip with a couple of 20-year-olds. And I am just glad to be here tonight to be able to tell you the tale. So my son is here tonight. Dominic, would you mind just standing up? And his friend Garrett is also here. Garrett? Okay. I didn't know if Dominic would come, and then I explained the benefits of an extended cocktail hour. And Dominic said, yeah, I think I can do that. I think I might like to do that. So glad to have you with us. So while we were at Gettysburg, we hired a guide who took us to the various battlefields and walked us through each of the 3 days of the Battle of Gettysburg, which was fought in early July 1863. The battle culminated with Pickett's charge, the Confederacy's failed and fatal attempt to break the Union line. When the day was over, between Union and Confederate soldiers, there were over 8,000 casualties, all occurring in less than an hour. If you haven't been to Gettysburg, Pickett's charge occurred over nearly a mile of open land, the geography slightly uphill with absolutely no cover at all. These troops were unprotected from cannon fire and rifle shots as they marched into the face of it. I walked a portion of Pickett's charge during our visit and could feel the enormity of what happened on this hallowed ground, the sacredness of human life and the loss of that life. As we concluded our tour, we made our way to the National Museum. Tucked away in the corner was an exhibit on Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Lincoln wrote the address to commemorate the new Civil War cemetery at Gettysburg. Yet Lincoln's invitation to the cemetery dedication was almost an afterthought. Instead, the featured speaker for the occasion was Edward Everett, a former dean of Harvard University and one of the most famous orators of his day. Everett took the podium and spoke for 2 hours straight. Then Lincoln delivered his message. It took 2 minutes, some 272 words, that have been heralded as the greatest speech ever given by an American president, forever embedded in our collective American consciousness. In his address, Lincoln described the human sacrifices endured during this battle as the last full measure of devotion. Devotion. It's not a word that we use very much these days. It is defined as love, loyalty, or enthusiasm for a person, activity, or cause. Maybe because devotion requires effort. It's not easy. Our honorees know a thing or two about devotion. They have devoted their lives to the causes of serving and supporting the elderly, educating children, and ensuring that those who are most vulnerable get the help that they need. At Catholic Charities, we also know a thing or two about devotion. We are devoted to those who are housing vulnerable and homeless, serving over 600 of them this past year. This is our new Housing Services Center that will be operational later this year, where we will continue our tradition of serving housing vulnerable individuals. We are devoted to refugees from Afghanistan and the Ukraine who are fleeing their homeland, in many cases fleeing for their lives. And thank you. Felicia Castricone, who's our Director of Refugee Services here tonight, so. Good person. Fleeing for their lives, and we embrace them here in the United States, here in Syracuse. We are devoted to preschoolers, over 300 of them each year as we prepare them to be successful in school. To parents who struggle greatly to care for their children, we help to reduce that struggle and replace it with confidence. We're devoted to the elderly who just want to live safely in their home and community, be less isolated and more connected. We provide that connection and safety. Our devotions are many and they run deep. As our honorees know, it takes grit and perseverance to live a life where you demonstrate day in and day out love, loyalty, and enthusiasm for a cause. And our cause at Catholic Charities can be summed up in a few short words: bring comfort and relief to suffering, instill hope, act as an instrument of change. I'd like to think that Catholic Charities is the Gettysburg Address of human service agencies. There's not a lot of fanfare or words, but what we say and what we do has impact, not only today, but for years to come. We see the face of God in the people that we serve, and we strive to reflect God's love and compassion in all that we do. These are the words that we live by at Catholic Charities, words that define our last full measure of devotion. So once again, I want to thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your support of Catholic Charities.
Yeah, and that's why he's not just the executive director, but so much more. Mike Millara, thank you for that message of hope. And that's why we're all here tonight too, right? As well. Thank you, Mike. Time for the awards now, one by one. Our honoree awards are sponsored by, and you should know and patronize these people, please, Advanced Media New York, Dr. Armand and Joan Sincata, Catholic Schools Office of the Diocese of Syracuse, so thank you all. Our first award tonight is the Humanitarian Service Award. Mike is here to present it, and to receive it, I'd like to ask Ann Rooney to come up on the stage. Ann Rooney, everybody.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to present the Humanitarian Service Award to Ann Rooney. Ann is currently the Deputy County Executive for Onondaga County and oversees human services. She's responsible for directing, advising, and coordinating policy for managers and employees in the following departments: Adult and Long-Term Care Services, Child and Family Services, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Emergency Communications, including 911, Emergency Management, Health, Probation, Social Services, Economic Security, and Veterans Services. So Ann has this really easy job. It's just like so super simple what Ann does every day. Prior to joining Onondaga County, Ann was the Chief Financial Officer for the Syracuse Salvation Army, Budget Director and Program Analyst for the City of Syracuse, and also worked in various roles for the United States Department of Defense in Washington, D.C. Additionally, Ann was a franchisee of Aunt Annie's Soft Pretzels for 25 years, owning and operating 10 locations. A graduate of the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University with a master's degree in public administration, she serves as an adjunct professor at the school. Ann grew up in Syracuse. She's a Bishop Ludden graduate. She continues to reside in Syracuse with her husband and is the proud mother of 3 grown children and grandmother of 2. And before I bestow this award to Ann, I've known Ann for a long time, I have 2 quick Ann Rooney stories, right? Had to be done. So the first thing I want to say is that Ann understands that being a good leader requires personal involvement. So story number 1, during the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ann, I think, single-handedly arranged for vaccination clinics for some of our most impoverished neighborhoods in the city of Syracuse. And it was during one of these planning discussions with Ann when she asked me, Mike, have you been vaccinated? And I said, no, I've not been vaccinated. And she said, without missing a beat, she says, well, I'm going to sign you up right now to vaccinate you. So I started to say, well, Ann, I think you might have more important things. And before I even got it out of my mouth, she goes, you're already signed up. I have you signed up right now. I said, okay. So without questions asked, I was signed up and got my vaccination, and it's an example of Ann knows how to get things done. But my second story is a bit harder to tell. And this occurred a little over a year ago. My daughter, Juliana, was visiting one of her friends near Syracuse University, and she had parked her car and was in the parking lot when she was suddenly attacked from behind. The attacker wrestled with her and stole her backpack, and in the process stabbed my daughter with a knife, cutting her in her left arm. Thankfully, Juliana has healed from this experience, and as you can imagine, this falls under the category of a parent's worst nightmare. The next day, after the attack, I was driving to work, and I get a call from Ann Rooney. Mike, how's your daughter? Among all the things she does, Ann also monitors police reports at night and recognized my daughter's name and called me. Leadership is personal. Ann gets it. The Humanitarian Service Award honors individuals who have the consistent desire to improve the human condition through a life of service to others. Anybody who knows Ann Rooney knows she has been a fierce leader when it comes to making our community better. It's my privilege to present the Humanitarian Service Award to Ann Rooney.
Thank you, Mike. I'm a little overwhelmed with that, so thanks. I remember the story about Juliana. I forgot that I called you, so I was so worried when I saw that, and I was glad she was okay. Congratulations to the other honorees tonight, Monsignor Charles Fahey, former Syracuse City School Superintendent Jaime Alicea, who I worked with day in and day out. Your being recognized here today is so well deserved, and I'm so honored to stand here with you, so thank you. To my dear friend Mike Mallara, the Board of Directors of Catholic Charities, and everyone, all the staff at Catholic Charities, I'm very humbled by this honor. More importantly, thank you for all that you do to uplift our community. You are truly our partners at the county, and we couldn't do what we're charged with doing without what you do every single day. As many of you know, we are anxiously awaiting the opening of the Housing Services Center on Erie Boulevard. That will be the new home for the current men's shelter, but will also be supportive apartments and the hub for all of Catholic Charities' housing services. I believe that Catholic Charities' reputation speaks for itself in turning a very unexpected situation into a project that has widespread endorsement from the federal, state, local, and philanthropic perspective. This is so characteristic of our local Catholic Charities. A fledgling seed of an idea turns into a flowering garden. While I am so honored you selected me for this recognition, truly we should be celebrating the work of the county staff and leaders who work so closely with all of the Catholic Charities staff every day. Thank you to all of you. I know a lot of you are in the back or spread around who have attended this evening's event. It is my pleasure to work with you every day, and it's been an honor of a lifetime. I would especially like to thank County Executive Ryan McMahon, who day in and day out puts the needs of the most vulnerable at the forefront, with continued investments in our residents from their earliest days to their golden years. This was so apparent during the long days of COVID-19. I personally witnessed his steadfastness and attentiveness to our community all day, every day. Thank you, Ryan. My remarks so far this evening have been about my professional experience with the great work Catholic Charities does, but I have also experienced a very personal side of this great agency. As a bright-eyed 6-year-old, I was a Bishop Forey day camper while my brother Bob was a counselor there. Those bus rides singing, "She'll be coming round the mountain," are a memory I will never forget. I graduated from there to my annual week at beloved Lourdes Camp. From there, it was on to CYO activities, including retreats, field trips, and of course, CYO basketball. Like so many of you here, I was a CYO kid, and it will forever hold a special place in my heart. In fact, Mike Mallara and I have joked often over the years that when Mike Preston retired from Lourdes Camp, I was to be his first call regarding the opening. Mike did keep his end of the bargain, by the way, but I thought I had a pretty good gig going here. Let's be honest, is there a better job out there than running Lourdes Camp on pristine Skaneateles Lake? Thank you for a lifetime of memories with people I still call friends today. You have shaped me in more ways than you know through my experience with CYO. There are several other people here I would like to acknowledge, and they're all over there. So I'm going to look over here, as I've been blessed many times over. My 3 children, John, Grace, and Tim, and their spouses, Megan, Casey, and Stephanie, are all here today. Patrick is here as well. I consider myself one of the lucky ones, if you will, since they have all decided to make Syracuse home as they raise their families. So our 4, we've had 2 more since in the last few months, so our 4 beautiful grandchildren are always close by. And my husband, Pat, through thick and thin, he is by my side, my rock, with his very well-placed wisdom and advice that somehow unfailingly comes off in a humorous way. I have to learn how to do that. Thank you, honey. And lastly, there are also some of my cherished friends in the audience, and nearly all of my family has joined me today, the Rooneys, the Dohertys, and the Driscolls. Thank you for your endless love and support. It means the world to me. And to my sister, Kathy, happy birthday. I planned quite a party for you. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations, Ann. I'm not sure that he obviously made a good call with this family. I'm not sure Pat's ever made a bad call, has he? New season, dead ahead. Oh, by the way, speaking of sports, Judge has flown out and walked so far, right? That's my guy over there? Okay, flown out and walked. You're not missing anything. The TV show you're missing, though, not out there in Webland, is this one, because it struck me. I've looked through the program at all the past award winners, but as a guy who covered news in Syracuse, either radio or TV, for 45 years, it strikes me that there are some people who get the job done behind the scenes every day. I mean, you know, Ann Rooney was never the mayor or the county executive itself yet, but there she is doing that kind of work behind the scenes. Jaime got on camera quite a bit, probably more than he wanted to during his tenure, but and of course, Monsignor Fahey, just a life of service to the church and to the faithful for so long. They're not a big newsmaker, but you know, these 3 individuals tonight, as I look at them and admire them and listen to what Ann had to say, it's like, holy mackerel, these people have done a world of good for this county and have helped so many people along the way. It's really an honor to be here. The President's Award comes next, speaking of Jaime Alicea. The President of Catholic Charities, where's Julian Modesti, the Board of Directors President? Come on up, Julian. He's going to present the award, and it's a special one, and it goes to a very special individual. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to ask the recipient to come forward with Julian, the recently retired Superintendent of Syracuse City Schools, Jaime Alicea.
Thank you, Dan. And first, congratulations, well-deserved. And also, thank you for lowering the mic after Mike Mallara, because he's a bit of a show-off with that sometimes. So it's a great honor to present the award tonight. The President's Award honors individuals who, through their voluntary contributions, have immeasurably enhanced Catholic Charities of Onondaga County. Jaime Alicia is the epitome of the spirit of this award, as evidenced by his years-long service and dedication to students and families in the Syracuse Central School District. Jaime began his career within the district in 1983 as a teaching assistant at Seymour Elementary. After getting his start, Jaime later became a teacher and an administrative intern at Fowler High School. He rose to serve as vice principal at Dr. King's School and principal at Seymour Elementary and then Fowler High School. Jaime then became an area superintendent responsible for the overall support and supervision of 19 schools in the district. From there, he was selected as the deputy superintendent for supervision and instruction, supervising 38 schools throughout the district. In that role, he was mainly responsible for staffing schools and for evaluating the principals. Jaime's experience led him to become the chief operations officer, in which role he was accountable for the supervision of the district's personnel, transportation, health services, food services, security, staff relations, risk management, and facilities and operations departments. In 2016, Jaime was named interim superintendent and was permanently named superintendent in March of 2017, serving in that role until he retired this past June 2022. This evening, it is my sincere privilege to present the President's Award to Jaime Alicia.
Thank you. I am honored and humble to be here this evening to receive this award. And the best thing is that we need to keep a good sense of humor and that we can see eye to eye, that I don't have to look at Mike Millara up here. So, again, good evening, everyone. It is an honor for me to be here with you this evening, and it's an honor to receive this award, the President's Award from the Catholic Charities. My appreciations to Catholic Charities, the Planning Committee, and especially Mike Malora. When I was appointed superintendent, he was one of the first people to call me to say congratulations, and if there's anything that I can do, please don't hesitate, give me a call. We had the opportunity to work together to make a difference for our kids, our families, our staff in the Syracuse City School District. The Syracuse City School District and Catholic Charities partner to offer services to our refugees' families, to our pre-K students, and to offer after-school program or day program at Franklin Elementary School and the old Danforth Middle School. So we have had a great, great partnership. I want to go back when I came to Syracuse 40 years ago. Like it was shared, I came from Puerto Rico. My English was limited, still limited, but the first person who got in contact with me was Father Chris from St. Lucy's. And Father Chris said to me, Jaime, you need to work hard, there's opportunities, and you will be able to make a life in Syracuse, New York. So I want to say thank you to the people that I have worked with all this year. Thank you to the families in the city of Syracuse. Thank you to the elected officials who gave me the opportunity. Thank you to the people sitting right here on the front row who has been behind me all the time, in the good time, the not so good time, supporting me. But I want to say to all of you, thank you. Thank you for the support that you have provided to the students, the families, the staff in the Syracuse City School District. Thank you for being here to support Catholic Charities, and together we will continue to make a difference in the life of the students and families in the city of Syracuse. So thank you to all of you for your support. And congratulations, Ann and Monsignor I'm honored to be sharing the stage with you today. Congratulations.
One last thing, we want to recognize a contributor to Catholic Charities for many, many years, volunteering his services and his time, and he doesn't get enough attention, and thanks for that. And that's our MC, Dan Cummings.
That wasn't necessary, Julian, but thank you. The recently retired Dan Cummings. Jaime, isn't retirement underrated? Isn't it? Well, thank you very much. It's the best. It's the best. And speaking of the best, in terms of men who wear the collar, you know, by the way, Jaime mentioned Father Bob Christ as one of the early men who reached out to him, right, so many years ago, St. Lucy's on the near west side. Father Christ is, if you don't know him, he was the pastor, was until very recently the pastor of our church down at St. Anthony. He's in a long-term care facility now and struggling. He could use your prayers, and so try to keep Father Christ in your prayers. He could use them. And I know, like you, he had an impact on so many young people coming up. Okay, the last award of the evening is the Bishop's Award, and Bishop Lucia is here to present it. And he's here to present it to a guy who's had an impact on so many lives since his ordination, and probably before, but since his ordination as a priest of the Roman Catholic Church and his elevation to Monsignor status, Monsignor Fahey. I've talked to him before about this. He's even done a little work over the years with my late father when they got into elder care work, and my father was always so impressed by meeting Monsignor Fahey, the great Charles Fahey, who did so much to lay the groundwork for the way we take care of our senior citizens these days. So the Bishop's Award, Bishop Blug Lucia is going to come up to present it to a guy who certainly deserves your rich and warm applause. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Bishop's Award this year from Catholic Charities, Monsignor Charles Fahey. Monsignor, come on up.
Thank you, Dan, and it's a pleasure to present this award to Monsignor Fahey. Just because I had him sit down doesn't mean I'm going to be long-winded. But the Bishop's Award honors individuals who, through their voluntary contributions, have immeasurably enhanced the diocese, Catholic Charities, and the central New York community. Monsignor Fahey is a priest of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Syracuse and Marie Ward Doty Professor of Aging Studies, Emeritus, at Fordham University. He has served as Program Officer of the Milbank Memorial Fund, and he was a member of the board and chair of the National Council on the Aging. Monsignor Fahey is a fellow of the Institute of Medicine of the National Academy of Science, the Gerontological Society of America, the National Academy for Social Insurance, and the New York Academy of Medicine. He is the recipient of 5 honorary degrees. He was Assistant Director and Director of Catholic Charities in the Syracuse Diocese. He has served as board member and president of the American Association of Homes and Services for the Aging, the American Society on Aging, and Catholic Charities USA. He has also served as a board member of the Daughters of Charity National Health System, the Sisters of Mercy Health System, the Catholic Health Association, and the Volunteers of America. He was a spokesperson for the Holy See in the 1982 World Assembly on Aging. He served in leadership roles for the White House Conferences on Aging in 1971, 1981, and 1995, and as a delegate in 2005. He was a member of the United States delegation to the 2002 United Nations Second World Assembly on Aging. It is true honor to be able to recognize Monsignor Fahey with this award for all that he has done to serve the elderly and contributed to the Diocese of Syracuse throughout his career. I'm proud to present the Bishop's Award to a pioneer and pillar for Catholic Charities and within the diocese, Monsignor Charles J. Fahey.
Well, thank you, Bishop. And you know, I wasn't all just sure that I wanted to be here tonight, except it gives me an opportunity to say thank you. We have memories so that we might have roses in December, somebody once said. And I have many, many memories, particularly to be a person of this community for 87 years. We moved here on my 3rd birthday, so that makes me 90 as I am. My engagement with Catholic Charities began 60 years ago, if you can imagine that. I became a priest, the instrumentality with a wonderful priest we had at Blessed Sacrament, and I aspired to be one like them. And for 2 years, I was happily an assistant at St. Vincent de Paul Church up there on the side of the hill. One day, having shoveled the snow from in front of the church so that the funeral was able to get into it, I came back and the pastor said to me, "The bishop wants to see you immediately, and for heaven's sake, say no." I went down to the chancery, and Monsignor Clark, who was rather a forbidding-looking person, but with whom I lived for a number of years, a great guy. He said, "Yeah, Bishop Forey will see you immediately. For heaven's sake, don't say no." I didn't have the slightest idea what he was talking about. So I go in, Bishop Forey says, "Father Fahey, you're a good priest. This is Friday. Monday, you'll begin to work in Catholic Charities with Monsignor Lawler. You'll live at 672 West Onondaga Street with 4 other diocesan leadership type, and I have another appointment. God bless you." That's the way we did discernment in 1961. When I went into Catholic Charities, Monsignor Lawler was a great guy, and he said 2 things to me. First of all, go back to school. I want you to have the opportunity to think about what it is to be a leader, what it is to be a leader of a human service agency, etc. I didn't have the opportunity. I want you to have it. And the other thing I want you to do, for heaven's sake, do something about Loretto, which was very interesting. But it was a fortuitous time because in going to Catholic University was the time that we as a country first began to recognize the needs of our older citizens. And so the question of Medicare and Medicaid, the Older Americans Act, were all being debated. And I was right there, able to pat Wilbur Mills, Wilbur Cohen, 2 congressmen who were really the parents of Medicare and Medicaid on the back, to listen to all the debates, and even to learn something, if you can believe that. So we came back to Syracuse, and I often speak of it this way. When I talk this story, I start out with I, which lasted about a minute and a half. Then it became we, as I found good people with whom to work. For example, Bob and Kathy McAuliffe. Their children are here tonight. They almost became family to me. Bud Costello, some of you may have known him, John Costello, an extraordinary attorney. He and Bob McAuliffe worked together in complementary fashion in all we did in Catholic Charities. They were great people. So when it came to Loretto was started in 1926. 100 units, small rooms, bathrooms down the hall. The Sisters of St. Francis staffed it, hands-on. Whatever administration was done, and there was very little, was done out of the Chancery office, no less. So anyway, as time went on, and they were asking me, for heaven's sake, do something. Well, you got these folks, and Mrs. Chucky Holstein, that some of you may know, a Jewish lady, who later became the chairperson of Loretto. We worked together. And Loretto at that time, which was 100 units, remember, and bathroom down the hall, today now serves 10,000 people a year and has 2,000 people working there in real ministry. What a gift to the community Loretto is, as Catholic Charities is, as our parishes are. You know, the parishes that we know so well and love, in so many instances, they were the beginning of refugee programs. As people came from Italy and Ireland and France and Germany, they settled together around the parishes. And the parishes then, and in so many instances now, became the heart of the local community. I'm grateful to have been a member of this community for all these years, and pleased to be honored tonight with people who themselves and the institutions which they represent are part of why this is a great community. We think of schools. Yes, in the public schools, especially as they struggle in the inner city, but I also think of our parochial schools. I think of the great Syracuse University, and that which is particularly close to my heart, Lemoyne College. How blessed we are in these educational institutions. Yes, and in terms of leadership in our communities, in the city and in the county, yes, we have human beings who have been the administrators, but by and large, we have been well served by these institutions, by city government, by county government, whether they be Democratic, and I hope my arm doesn't fall off, whether they be Republicans. We are blessed and have been blessed by all of these people. We're blessed in this community because of all the health care that we have, because of St. Joe's Hospital, because of the Upstate Medical Center, and the numerous practitioners in all facets of health care. These are truly marvelous things. So I am grateful to be able to be here tonight, not because of the honor, but afforded an opportunity to say thank you on my behalf, on the behalf of thousands of people who have been and are being served by these institutions and are part of our communities. Yes, and the last, not the least of these institutions is our Catholic Church. In the development of Catholic Charities, I had quite a story to tell, but they said I couldn't talk that long. But among the persons was key was Bishop Cunningham I. And I got to tell you a Bishop Cunningham story that's true. Bishop Cunningham was also a pastor at St. John the Baptist, was there with Bishop Forey. And Bishop Forey, during his final days, was not the easiest person to get along with. But Bishop Cunningham somehow He wasn't coadjutor. He didn't have the right of succession. But he worked through it over and over again. And frankly, because he was sort of the hatchet man for Bishop Forey, he didn't exactly enjoy first place in the lives of many priests. One day, one of our priests went into Bishop Forey and said, "Bishop, I've been made Bishop of Syracuse." And Bishop Forey knew the fellow and his tendencies. He said, "Okay, Joe, can I have a few things to can I have a few days to get my things together?" The guy says, "Okay." But he goes across the hall, and there's Father Monsignor Bishop Cunningham pounding away as his typewriter, as he fortunately did. The guy pushed the door open, put the finger at him, and says, "But if you son of a bitch, get out immediately." And in many ways, that was the way in which many held Bishop. That was the bad news. But he went through Vatican II. He listened. He learned. He came back, managed under Bishop Forey, and when he became ordinary, he did an extraordinarily important job. And I want to mention that specifically in regard to Catholic Charities, because it was during my time in Charities that he was the bishop. He couldn't have been more supportive, more helpful. So once again, I'm grateful to be here to say thank you to all of you, to say thank you to our various bishops and to our current bishop, because were it not for their support and encouragement, Catholic Charities wouldn't be able to be as creative and to do so many things for so many people. Last but not least, there are thousands of people that are being helped and have been helped over the years through the activities of Catholic Charities and other of our instrumentalities. They wouldn't even say thank you, to say thank you. They wouldn't know who to say thank you to. But on behalf of those thousands of people, I say thank you to Catholic Charities, to its leadership, and to our bishop.
Just take it right here.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. You want to break the camera?
Yeah, I'll hold that for you as we
Thank
go
you.
down. Okay?
Okay. I don't want to do anything dramatic, so that I was
Well, Monsignor Fahey says he's here to say thank you to so many people. I think we need to say thank you to him again. Monsignor Charles Fahey, congratulations. And to the McAuliffe family and all of the fan club that has assembled behind Monsignor Fahey tonight, thank you for everything you have done for Monsignor. And the webcast is running a little overtime, but we would like to invite you all to what we would call the postgame show. Monsignor has agreed to stay and tell more stories of discernment in the history of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Syracuse. It's fascinating, and it really hasn't changed that much over the years, has it, Bishop? It's fascinating church history right here tonight. Listen, we are going to end our program tonight, but what a program it's been. And Monsignor, you may remain seated, but the other two, you can wave your hand or put that cane high. I'd like to ask Jaime Alisea and Ann Rudy to stand up again and turn and face the faithful. Ladies and gentlemen, Monsignor Fahey, Jaime Alisea, and Ann Rooney, congratulations and thank you on behalf of everybody who supports Catholic Charities. It's been quite an evening, and the leadership that they have shown this community for, God, you got here 87 years ago, Monsignor. Just remarkable. Thank you, Monsignor and Jaime and Ann Rooney. We hope you've enjoyed this great evening. I want to thank once again our co-chairs who've done this for seemingly forever, but for the last time, Joe Charles and Patty Callahan. Thank you very much. And they don't do it without a committee, so the House of Providence Committee is one of the great committees in this town. I've only done a couple of public events since I retired myself, and this is one of 2 or 3, and it's a tremendous event. Mike Mallara, thanks for what you do in this community. Thanks all for being here virtually and in person. Huge thank you, too, to the staff of Catholic Charities. And of course, congratulations to all of the honorees. So, there are pieces of chocolate in those plastic bags on your seat. Take them with you. There is also, I'm told, actual dessert, and not in plastic bags, and coffee and dessert across the hall. Yes? I take a cue. Wow, we do. Thank God Tijuana works now for Catholic Charities. There is one more video, right? So you need to pay attention either to the screen on my right or the screen on my left and take a look at some of the great work that's been done.
Imagine not having a place to sleep tonight or enough food to feed your family. Imagine having to choose between buying food, paying rent, or purchasing a prescription. These are the dilemmas that so many of our neighbors face every day. Impossible choices and circumstances that they must navigate, and it can feel like a very lonely road to be on. Catholic Charities shares that road with the people we serve. Through our emergency services, pantries, shelter, and our new housing services center, we bring immediate comfort and relief to those who are experiencing a crisis. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to those who are housing vulnerable and homeless. When you are hurting, vulnerable, and in great need, Catholic Charities is there doing its greatest work. Imagine waking up to find that your community is under attack by a neighboring country, that because of your religious or political beliefs, you and your family members have to flee your home, otherwise face certain torture and even death. Imagine trying to pack up your life's possessions in a couple duffel bags and making your way across several time zones and oceans to start a new life in a new land. This is the life of a refugee, a life filled with dangerous situations. It's a long road from Afghanistan and the Ukraine to Syracuse, a road filled with insurmountable obstacles. Catholic Charities shares that road with the refugees that we serve. From the time we greet them at the airport, to helping them establish their first apartment in the United States, to helping them land their first job, we share their burdens, their hopes, and their dreams for starting a new life. We welcome the stranger at Catholic Charities, and that stranger very quickly becomes our neighbor. Imagine wanting the absolute best for your child, but struggling to provide the basics like keeping them safe, keeping them healthy, and ensuring that they'll be ready to learn once they enter school. Imagine struggling with issues of abuse and maltreatment in your life, and now trying to parent your own child and the emotional wounds that get carried for a lifetime. Being a parent under any circumstances can be a very bumpy road, and Catholic Charities is there to smooth out some of those bumps. Through our Universal Pre-K program, we are preparing children to be successful in school. Through our parent support programs, we instill confidence in each parent to be the absolute best parent they can be. At Catholic Charities of Onondaga County, we see the suffering of the people we serve, and we are there for them, today, tomorrow, and always.
Well, I'm glad we didn't miss that video. That's the payoff. That's why you're here. That's why we celebrate the leadership of our honorees tonight for helping support that very work in our community. So thank you for what you all do for Catholic Charities. Congratulations to our honorees. Grab some dessert and have a nice evening on your way home. Tajana and Lindsay, thank you from Catholic Charities. Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you next year, okay?